How we doing tonight, guys? We have a lot of exciting news to cover. Gov's not with us yet, but he is coming. So, talking about driving force, Gov is literally doing just that. He is driving towards us. Hopefully, at some point, we will see that driving force in Gov and that big, beautiful Viking-like spirit that Gov always brings. Speaking of which, we brought the fight though in the UFL. I mean, I knew we would because we had done so much research, and like I say, this podcast was kind of built around like, hey, let's deep dive sports that we loved and give it a different angle that most people either don't, or they're trying to be too much like another YouTube channel, or they're trying to idolize the wrong portion of DraftKings. I feel like we've done a very good job of being ourselves. And so these niche sports that get underutilized or undercovered, we're able to kind of come in with our philosophy and our process and really apply it into these sports specifically. And I think it plays very well.
Yeah, before I was going to say, before we get into lineup breakdowns and whatnot, I just want to see, because last year, we've always been supporters of the spring football leagues and watching pretty much every game we can catch.
Mm-hmm.
I bailed on the USFL last year. I don't know if you guys did. I couldn't. I just couldn't watch that and the XFL. The XFL was significantly better in my opinion. But Evan's first time giving the league a go. I just want to hear his opinions on it so far.
So I thought week 1 was a great success for the UFL. I wasn't sure what this was going to look like with the combined merged businesses, USFL and XFL. Some really good football was played on Saturday. I didn't see most of the Sunday games, but from what I could catch on Saturday before I left to go out, I really liked that Birmingham and Arlington game.
I like that they kind of kept a running total too between the USFL and the XFL within this new league. Like they almost kept a tally of the old teams, from each league, and made it its own like rivalry within the league too. I thought that was very smart. It was kind of a callback for people like me, Gov and Donnie, who have followed both sports or both leagues, as it were.
I have two things to say about two games. These are both the ones that I caught. First of all, I wasn't expecting Birmingham to attack Arlington on the ground. That was really good at the running game. And number two, I didn't realize that Wade Phillips was the defensive coordinator for the San Antonio Brahmas.
He's the head coach.
He's a head coach.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was just the DC. My fault.
No, he's on the whole thing.
Ironically, his defense was killing DC. So Go figure.
Yeah, and DC was supposed to be like not too shabby. They have the coach that they think is their guy. 9-1 last year, and were the heavy favorites going into the championship. Just blew it against a losing record Arlington team that made the playoffs.
But remember, Wade was pretty good in the XFL with the Houston Roughnecks last year.
Yes.
So,
wasn't it the Houston Gamblers last year, if I'm not mistaken?
It was Houston. I know that because
I just changing the name. I believe is what they did.
I believe you might be right.
Shout out to Tease Tabor, former Chicago Bear, now playing corner.
He was a Bear too. I knew him from the Lions.
Oh yeah, he played one season with us.
He played one season with the Bears because that's when he first transitioned into safety. He was really trying to give safety a chance.
See, he was that whole defense that they have. They have a lot of former NFL guys, and Reuben Foster had a great time when he was playing as well on Sunday, but he got hurt. I don't remember what the injury was. So that's pretty big.
Yeah, it was.
That's going to be a massive injury if he's not playing this upcoming week. I just thought it was such good football every time I was watching.
That's the thing too. It wasn't just like old names that we knew, kind of like had their like 5 seconds of fame in this other league. It was like good football. Like although there was limitations to it, you knew like it wasn't the highest level of professional football.
You could see it in the quarterback play, and you could see it in the offensive line play. but it's still good football. I mean, if you can if you can stomach watching college football, which I think is a lot more sloppy, then you definitely can handle this.
Right.
And it's not even college football level either. Like, these are actual professionals who were
Yes.
among the best of the best in the NCAA who just didn't make an NFL roster, or at least had it at some point, but just didn't make the cut.
Or guys, yeah, exactly. Guys who made practice squads last year and everything and just couldn't make the 53 man. I mean, these guys, some of them still have NFL careers going on.
Well,
AJ McCarron, another example.
Yeah, he's a consistent backup, and he's a damn good one too.
I mean, they talked about it on the broadcast. They said what's unique about this league is we have three types of players all competing at the same time. You have the player that's never had NFL experience. He played at a smaller school and just never got his chance. And he's waiting for that first opportunity to go into the preseason, the NFL, or just like any NFL ranks. You have your veteran who's been there, who might want a chance back in, who might do enough in this league to get back in. And then you have your guy that's like, it's his life mission to get back in, and if this doesn't work, then he won't stay in the XFL either. He'll like, excuse me, he'll give up. So you got like three competing, motivation levels, and it makes a very interesting team. Not let alone opponent, but even your teammates are competing, for playing time with you in a way. Like I think that's sometimes why we see the two quarterback system.
And I will say this as well. It's almost more of a testament to how good you have to be as a coach to manage like these guys who are trying to make NFL rosters and keeping those egos in check. Because there are some guys here that belong on the NFL in an NFL team.
Yeah.
And they just maybe aren't getting the looks that they want right now. And they have to keep their ego down. Coaches have to keep that locker room tame. And that's not easy.
Well,
it's really just like minor league baseball where the guys have to play their asses off in order to get noticed.
Yeah. I mean, Cody Lattimore broke the silence this week, coming out and saying that if he got another NFL chance, he might take it. But this will be his last spring football professionally he ever plays. This will be his last season. He said he wants to keep playing. He wanted to keep earning a professional paycheck, but he will not keep doing it to his body at this advanced age, at this level, even at this professional level.
And he's 31. I think 32 maybe, if he hasn't had his birthday yet.
I think he will be 32 before the season ends. But yeah, so which I think is kind of cool. I mean, we saw in basketball where DeMarcus Cousins basically said he could have maybe tagged on at the end of an NBA bench. Decided no, for the last bit of my professional career, I would rather give back to the youth, the kids, the younger guys, maybe even like some hungry guys overseas that want to see if they can compete with the NBA, talent and just know what the NBA life is like. So he went overseas to finish out his professional career because he's like, maybe I'll teach an international guy how to get stronger for the NBA, or I'll be that like veteran presence to kind of motivate them in that way. But he's like, I don't think
you got some comments, by the way.
Really? Great.
Yeah, I think it's Gov, but just so we can tap on what he's saying.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty wide open with what you can do for daily fantasy sports.
Yeah. And that was the disappointing thing too, is we saw some overlay with DraftKings contest not filling. But I don't think that was the lack of excitement, because if you looked at the TV numbers, they were actually pretty good. Unfortunately, they did this a couple years ago when they launched the XFL too. They just did it during Easter, and I didn't understand that because you got a lot of holiday festivities with children or with families. It's a big travel period too.
But here's what I think, Logan, about that. if you can put that on during an Easter dinner or something, and you got a huge group there, and it catches a couple people's eye, that's pretty big.
Yeah, and a lot of people do spend time with their families similar to Thanksgiving on Easter. In the morning, they might go out for like Easter egg hunting and like brunch or something, but later in the afternoon, they're going to be home.
And if you could just get that TV on and somebody who wouldn't have turned it on otherwise just to watch some football, man, it's the 1 to 2 eyes you can catch every time on that.
That's probably a perfect analogy, actually, Donnie, of what happened, because the viewership numbers were actually very good for what they expected in terms of people watching the game. It's just they thought they were going to get a lot more people playing the DraftKings contest, and I think some people might have been more reserved because we didn't have projections, we didn't have the analytics, we didn't have the numbers, the data, and then some people just don't like to do that and travel at the same time. Yeah. Hopefully next week we'll actually fill the contest.
So, another thing I'll say about that as well is I think ESPN did a great job, especially of just laying into the betting on this, on the games going on, showing the ESP bet projections, all that. I don't know anyone who's ever used ESPN bet. I don't know if it's any good or anything, but leaning into that, I think it's going to help expand the game as well.
I know ESPN bet has some good Super Bowl props and some of these kind of procedures, but I think this league does a very good job of leaning in and being different. I thought listening to the coaches on the sidelines for big key third downs was good. It's that kind of stuff that I find kind of strange because we like it, but then when we hear language that we're not used to, it's like, whoa, this is strange.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that, but I don't like the pushback. It's just weird to me because then it's like they can't win, and then they don't know what to do, week by week. I would just keep giving it to us. I think real football fans enjoy it, and eventually the casuals will just have to get used to it.
Well,
I know when Reuben Foster got hurt, they caught him on the mic. Who was a quarterback at the time? The opposing quarterback, saying, "Man, hate to see it, but he was making this game tough," or something along those lines. And it's just like, that's everyone's thinking it if you're a fan of that team or if you know what you're talking about. But it's just like,
yeah, I know the exact moment you were talking about. That was Case Kirkus talking about Reuben Foster's injury.
Yes.
Yeah, and on that other point too, there are always going to be fanboys of the NFL, just like fanboys of the WWE, where they're just incessant and they got their own incel simp thing going. That if they're going to be that way, so be it. There'll be people who will understand that UFL is off to a good start, picking up for where both were off last year, and as long as the good football keeps playing, I don't see why they would lose to the point where they get canceled.
Right, and so much money's been invested into this league, and people believe in it, and the players believe in it. Most importantly, the players and the coaches really do believe in it.
This is not like the AAF where they get fucked over in the end.
Right. So in the AAF, man, that was like the first year of the spring football coming back, and that was a real disaster. I didn't think it was going to work.
I mean, the players were fucking stranded in their hotel rooms in the end.
There's always been a place for spring football. It's just someone needs to get it right. And we're so close. We are so close. If fans just give it the chance, we'll be there.
I don't even think we need any I think it's got enough name value and the product is good enough. I just think it just needs consistency now.
Half the league are in cities that don't have professional football teams, which really fucking helps the product.
I agree.
I should mention before we get into the actual lineup, the UFL, I will get used to that. The UFL did put out, the moment these games had ended, the first week ended, they put a request for 2 copyrighted teams. So it looks like either they will be changing locations for 2 teams next year, or they will be expanding 2 teams next year.
I expect expansion. Because like Gov said, they're the leagues have always completed their season since 2020. The worst stain on the spring football has been AAF, and COVID really hurt it, for a while. but the leagues have lasted. They retain most of their viewership. The fan base that likes it. I think it's going to continue. I really do.
Yeah, I think so as well. The team that I can't remember where they put the expansion like copyright infringements in for. I can't remember both teams, but I do remember one team is in Ohio. It is right outside of Canton. It looks
I think that's a mistake. I think that's the wrong spot. There's too much football in Ohio.
Well, I do know one of them was Ohio, so they are targeting playing. I think in that Hall of Fame stadium.
Yeah, I think you want the large population areas, but it's hard when those population areas already have teams, so it's just tough.
Yeah, because it's just good that they're going back to cities that had teams ripped away from them, especially St. Louis.
Yeah. And, a team like Birmingham, which, Alabama is so sucked into college football. These are their college guys playing in Birmingham.
Yeah.
These are guys they like. They leave and they stop watching them altogether. They don't go and watch the NFL. All, being from there now, all the customers, they hate the NFL. But these are guys they know. And that's a big thing in these areas.
So I told you there was quite a few guys I was playing that we didn't have in this lineup, but I like this lineup. I'll get onto that because I'm not going to lie, my personal lineup did the best of all the lineups I'm about to show you, but I was proud of all the constructions we had here. And I just think you should do that. We always talk about diversifying your portfolio in the NFL and just like doing prop bets and like picking contests that make sense for you. So like single entries and 3-entry max and, playing in contests where you feel like you have a chance to win. So like it doesn't got to be the millie, where there's like 20,000, 30,000 people. You can play in these smaller contests. Week 1 was very interesting because you knew there was going to be like some high-owned guys that underperformed and some like low-owned opportunities because we did some research and we could find them. I thought we did a very good job of that. Where did you guys want to start with this breakdown here with this AJ McCarron one? Because we did expect him to be chalky. We kind of ate that on purpose, knowing that he probably wasn't going to fail just based on his experience.
I still stand by that. I don't know who there was a couple, like 2 quarterbacks that did better, right? Points wise.
Yeah. Chase Gabers was one of them I know because I really liked him. And then Cookus, I think, did slightly better.
It's kind of funny with Aitman because he's only 4% owned here. He was 6.6 and change something percent owned in the UFL 200 free contest. So I'm not sure what that crowd was thinking versus this one, but that definitely paid off for us here.
Usually the single entries is like 2% under most contests that allow you to enter more than once, essentially.
Yeah. My thing about Aitman is probably, my guess is, one, people didn't watch him or didn't know much about him from the past.
Yeah.
And he was XFL, right? So he didn't have any projection at all on the site?
He did not.
Exactly. So that probably played a part. He was listed 4th on the depth chart if, Pearson, whatever his name was, is healthy. And the other 2, everyone in that receiving core, the top 4 guys, have had success. So you just didn't know who it was going to be. And Aitman was just so cheap, it felt like a home run that you had to try and go for.
Well, I liked him because whenever he got his hands around the football, he caught the ball. Yeah. He wasn't the most explosive. He didn't generate the most targets, but like his catch radius was immaculate in the XFL last year. Like he didn't drop anything.
Do we think it's going to be safe to say he's going to go over $6K next week?
Yes.
Yeah, he should. I think he is. I built a lineup already, like a dummy lineup, just so we had one. I believe he is. He is in that lineup. I will say, though, just like I expected, he didn't drop any passes, had very sure hands, caught some very toe dragging kind of catches on the sidelines. Very, very good body control as you'd expect. But I don't think he caught his first pass until the second half of that game. So once he got that salt and pepper shaker rolling, then they were ready to season him. But until then, it wasn't happening. So
Gov said he's about 5 minutes out.
Say what, Donnie?
Gov said he's about 5 minutes out, so pay attention for him.
Fair enough. Yeah. It makes a pretty good click sound when he joins, so I won't miss it. But
Marcel Aitman is 6,500 this week.
Yeah. But the thing is like in the first half, I don't think he got many targets. So if you really think like, oh well, he's not going to get that, maybe you would fade him this week. I just think they should have. I think he should have had more than 9 receptions. Only getting 6, I think, is actually below what he should have gotten. So if I had to guess, I would say he could get more work next week, not less.
He's already at a really good price still compared to a bunch of other wide receivers who didn't do as well.
Yeah. The next position I want to go over is running back. Can you just pull up every running back? Is there a DK Live for this?
No, but I can work my way through some of the better ones because I know who they were.
Well, okay. Because this is my one complaint about this league outside of the offensive line. Like my biggest complaint is the offensive line. The offensive line in the NFL already isn't, great in my opinion. It's the toughest position to have 5 guys who are consistently going to be good. And now we're at the second level of offensive linemen. The defense is going to figure itself, especially early on. The defense is, defense is only getting better from here on out, I think. But the offensive line has been a consistent issue, and it's led to bad running back play. I don't know what to do about running backs in this league at all.
I would keep playing the big body ones like Hillis. I thought
guys who could just bowl people over or hit an absolute home run because I don't trust any O lines.
Well, what's crazy about Wes Hills is he was a big body, but his longest run I think was 20 yards. I will say to your offensive line point, it was very frustrating and really kind of sad for I believe DC it was. They lost their right tackle because he spit on someone.
Yeah, he did get ejected for a spitting violation.
That was wild.
And I've never heard of that in my life. But I know it happens all the time, probably in the NFL. But where now it's mic'd up and everything, there's so much.
Well, I'm actually glad they caught it. And you're right, it hasn't been called much in the NFL, but I think
I've never seen it called once in the NFL. And I think it's because it's not mic'd up. That's the thing.
I was going to say, I think you're right about that, not having it mic'd up, but the camera working, like the fact that you can go back and review anything, like they have that super challenge where it's like it doesn't even got to be a flag. You can actually challenge pass interference even if it wasn't called on the field.
Oh, no. The thing is, it's like that super challenge probably won them the game because they had a chance of coming back. And a super challenge to get not only the guy who was ejected, he's out in that game, but then you overturn a touchdown with your super challenge. Just based off, was it a false start on the same right tackle?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that hurt him is they were able to challenge a false start right after he spit. So it was like a 20-yard difference the moment he left that game.
Yeah, and I will say this also. I think the biggest mistake right now the XFL is doing that.
UFL.
You're right. UFL.
Sorry.
That they're doing is they're allowing those ejected players to stay on the sideline, and I can imagine that's going to be a bad situation one day.
Before we get deeper into that, I wanted to play casual devil's advocate, like somebody that is probably representative of like casual NFL fans. If I could imagine that someday there's going to be complaints of there's too many fucking challenges, there's too many stops in the game, there's too much cameras panning to coaches calling plays. Just play some fucking football. What do you guys think? Is that ever going to happen?
Probably
Look-
day one, but who cares? I want to see that shit.
Yeah. I want to see it for one, and two, you have to fill airtime anyway. Like, there's gonna be times they're sitting in the huddle. I don't want to listen to a Jim Nance and Tony Romo babble about how great Patrick Mahomes is. I
Don't
want to
worry.
listen.
It's only like 30 seconds from when the plays usually start in that. They'll figure out a way to have everyone have 10-minute commercials that'll just play in between plays. It's coming. Little 10-second commercials, like little TikToks in between plays. That's all it's going to be.
I wouldn't be surprised. But, like, it's better than listening to Travis Kelce in his relationship.
I mean, is it?
No, not the commercials. I'm talking about listening to coaches and stuff. Like, that's actually football. I'm watching football.
Yeah, see, I like that. Like, I like the coaches. Like, I like them having the coach mic'd up until like 15 seconds before. I would love for them to add that to the NFL to most games.
Yeah.
But they have the commercials that they want.
Or at least just like give it to me in the 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning, coach is mic'd up on the sideline. Just something.
Did you see where they tried to interview Bob Stoops? And they were like,
Yeah, Bob Stoops ain't gonna go for that shit. He's
2 questions.
Bob Stoops ain't gonna go for that shit.
They said 2 questions, coach. He stood there for 2 of them. They started to ask him a third one. He's like, sorry, Bucko, I gotta go, coach.
See, and that kind of shit I like. I want to see Wade Phillips do that shit to somebody when they try to talk to him.
Honestly, I want to see a player get excited and cuss on TV, and the guys are like, "Well, you just heard it. Oh well, yeah." I mean, that's to me, that's just real sports. That's how sports are. If you don't like it, don't put your kid in sports. That's what they're going to hear playing sports.
I mean, the network is going to have it like a 7-second delay to be able to catch it, and then 7 seconds later, just mute it.
I heard plenty of things that they did not catch.
Yeah, I don't think they care, man. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like television is starting to loosen up on stuff like that, because you could tune into South Park and hear the word shit, and they don't get fined anymore. So it's probably going the same way for football games.
Oh God, this new South Park video game I'm playing is so fun. Sorry. Streaming live on my Twitch stream, I am playing the new South Park Snow Day video game. It's cool.
The only reason why I considered getting it is because it's 4-player co-op, and I imagine a group of 4 people doing that would be so fun.
Here's what I would say. Have you ever played like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games?
Yeah.
South Park version of that.
Okay. Yeah,
slightly different like system they have in place. So they make a big deal and make fun in the beginning how the other 2 games eventually got to a point where you would make your character so OP it broke the game, and then it would pan to your character you created and be like, we're not going to let that happen this time. Pan to your character. Right? Just Cartman yelling at you. It's so good.
Logan, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have mentioned South Park.
No.
Valid.
Gov's links is in the description, so if anyone wants to check it out, you do merge better than we do gaming and DFS very well. So if anyone's into that kind of content,
it's that for people who want to know. I'm not I will be playing my games, whatever it is, but I will always have DK Live either on the side or able to pull up. We will be keeping track of. Now we have to look at baseball and basketball for the next couple of months.
Well, Gov, since you weren't here, do you want to just get quick opinions on the game and then we can break down the lineup?
I was in chat the whole time. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay.
So anything from this lineup, the small $6 victory we had.
I will say Aitman is going to be like 14, or Aitman's going to be like 24 to 34% owned next week. He's still going to be way too cheap.
And I was breaking that down before you got here, saying that I believe he caught 4 of 6 balls in the second half. So if you think like it's gonna,
and really, McCarron wasn't bad. He was only outscored by Cookus and Garbers.
Yes,
Cookus and Garbers, yes.
And Cookus by barely. I think Cookus only had
it was
18.
like a point. Yeah.
Right. It's just that ownership of
getting off that 37% ownership. Like I knew he would be chalky, but like to be fair, I thought Hills was going to come in a lot chalkier. But then I did end up getting projections that morning of, and when I got those projections, they were touting a different running back. I'm forgetting who it was now.
Was it Victor?
No, he was 7,500.
Oh, I
think
think
he was
he ended up getting like
Young.
22
I
points.
think it was last name. I forget what it was.
Honestly,
Wasn't Marable, although Marable was like second, but there was
Marable-
another guy.
Yeah, Marable
But
was
yeah,
high
Marable,
on-
Gallman, those ended up being like the chalkier guys, which I loved once I saw. I'm like, great, Hills isn't going to be chalky,
Oh,
and he gets the volume.
also-
I'm fine with that.
I cannot believe Puka Williams is basically a return specialist, and that's it. Because he was in the NFL, 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, I know. A lot of
Yeah,
these
we-
guys are like I don't want to say failed NFL talents, but like they are guys who like someone gave them a small chance and they either fucked it up or couldn't do anything to keep their job. But like they're still talented people. They just maybe give them some time to figure it out.
I do want to show people the variance of just a different way to build it. It's not so much the fact that I won this much, although I am proud and I do
Oh,
want to
your
celebrate.
Garbers lineup. And Kirk, I loved Kirkland. Kirkland, again, I love that he didn't come in chalky. I wish I would have had more of him.
By the way, you don't see it on the stat sheet, but Sage Surratt got 2 red zone targets that game.
Yes.
That I think it was 2 red zone targets. It might have been more. I know it was at
Yes.
least 2.
He could have easily had a touchdown and had like 3 for 50 and a touchdown.
I was
Yes.
going
It's
to say,
like an amazing play.
so he could have had 4 targets and 2 of them were red zone targets. as well.
That's massive to me.
no.
I'm playing him again.
I'll go
I
back to him again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Any of these big body guys, because you don't get the kick either. That's the other thing I'd love to see. Just get rid of the fucking field goal outside of, like, you're not allowed to kick a field goal inside 15 yards.
Speaking of field goal,
I would be fine with a rule like that.
oh
and then,
my
and then
god,
Get rid of the extra point and give me the 1, 2, and 3.
that completely forgot. I forgot about this. Speaking of field goal, how about the fake field goal touchdown
I
to a
forgot
center?
about that. I forgot about that.
Exactly. It was such good football. We forgot about the most exciting play.
It was Brad
Of the
Pitt,
weekend.
too.
I mean, they got the interviews after, but a punter throwing a 50-yard touchdown to a center.
I want to say Brad wins about my age, too. So say one for the 30-year-olds.
I just what a play that was, and they even said like that was not how that was supposed to happen. That was not drawn up that way.
I just wish that was Jason Kelsey's farewell on the Eagles.
I mean, he just was left wide open. I guess like he said, for all the fat guys out there.
That man touchdown.
Yeah, he did dedicate that to all the fat guys.
And honestly, like I can tolerate the cheesiness and that kind of like fun back and forth humor a lot more when it's like live in action and you get the guy's genuine reaction. Like I'm a lot more in favor of that than like the post game, interview that's kind of overdone in the NFL. Like where they're coming off the sidelines, you're just getting this fun, interactive, like in the moment reaction. That's the kind of stuff where I can be like, okay, you can cheese it up for me a bit. I actually quite enjoy that.
Yeah, and other special teams. What I think it was Gov trying to say, 64-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't he get iced the first time? Hit it anyway, and then hit it again.
See, and like in a league where you get rid of the extra point, you still have that's a good field goal. Like he might get looked at for
64
jobs.
yards. He
That kind of
probably
leg,
gets a
he's gonna
chance.
Get looked at for jobs. Yeah.
Apparently, I'll break it for you guys now. Apparently, he's already talked to NFL guys. Apparently, NFL teams, multiples are reporting, and then apparently one team has already offered him a training camp kind of invite.
I'm not surprised. If you hit a 64-yard field goal, you at least deserve a shot on a practice squad.
But for him to take it, he's basically going to have to leave now. Is kind of the.
Oh, I'd wait. If you want to finish out your season, you could wait, and you'll have a job in the fall. You'll be fine.
Apparently, this one team really wants him to leave if he's going to take it. Now, I don't know what that one team is. I don't know if that's the true ultimatum, but
if I feel like I can win a championship in this league, I think I'd do it. The point of playing in the UFL is to expand the sport. in my opinion, and I don't think he's sacrificing a job at this point now if he quits or stays. So just keep it going and, expand what this is.
Gov, given what you know about building lineups and what some of the projection numbers you looked at, how much of this lineup do you think was me like really doing my due diligence and like hard work? And where do you think I got lucky? And like, what do you think we can take away for next week?
First thing I could say is great call on Garbers. Like he came in like second or third in quarterback like ownership behind McCarron and that, but he was in a really good spot.
The only reason I knew about him was preseason DFS.
Right. And most people haven't watched any preseason. So like knowing him, like I had no problem playing Kirkland because I knew of his receiving talent from the leagues earlier the other years.
All you needed to know was he played for LSU.
Yeah, he was like the number 3 behind Chase and Jefferson that year.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. I mean,
like that's why it's like I knew he'd be an NFL talent. He just got overlooked by 2 absolute stud receivers that they drafted back to back from LSU.
And then he was injured his first set in the NFL.
Yep. But like he's shown like healthy, he's a good receiver. And then like you filled it out great, like getting the running back and the defense, great pairing. I love that. The way running back in this league's going, like if I don't like pick a dude that I like, it's gonna be NFL style. I'm gonna be trying to find the cheap guy and only play one running back.
I feel the same. Wasn't there a cheap guy that completely smashed the slate too?
I
forget his name, but I thought he was like super cheap.
Wasn't it Anthony McFarland?
Yes, McFarland. That was the guy.
Well, yeah, the former Steeler.
He was the cheap one that actually did fine. Like,
he's going for $8,500 this week.
Yeah, what was his price last week? Can you check?
It was probably $7K.
No, I don't think it was even that.
72, maybe.
I think it was like close to that.
Because I'm pretty sure it was close to that because there was only one other cheaper back, and I was waiting on news of a guy being out before I could play Tion Evans, and he was like 55.
I'm trying to find a line with him, but I do know he was higher than you think because he had the NFL pedigree.
Mm-hmm.
And any guy who had NFL pedigree was priced up.
There was a 3,800 guy who ended up scoring 16 as well for Arlington.
There he is, McFarland. 5%, 14 points, and he was cheap. Holy shit.
What was he exactly?
No, he was 8K.
Oh, he was 8K. Oh, okay. So like he was probably middle of the range of running backs then.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Ricky Person Jr.?
I think that might be it.
That might have been the guy, yeah.
He's sharing that backfield with CJ Marable, and Ricky was the better back against Michigan.
How much did he have, and what was his price?
Yeah, so Ricky was I don't remember his salary last week, but he's still going for $5,500 this week, and he scored 18.2 fantasy points last week. Let's see if we can find that here.
Stevenson had almost 10 points, and he was 5,800 as well. Like
Stevenson,
there was a lot of.
I was going to mention
a lot of guys.
We should definitely think about targeting Stevenson because he's big, and he runs 4.4. In a league like this, where you're going to see targets, and you run a 4.4, like he missed a touchdown where I felt like he was open, and the quarterback just slightly overthrew him. Well, that's just a chemistry thing because they haven't worked enough, to get their timing down. But I just think when you run 4.4 in a league like this, I think it matters. I'm going to go back to our lineup that we built here just to show a lineup that wasn't perfect, but still did quite enough stuff right.
I wanted to mention that the third running back on Birmingham is Larry Roundtree III, and he got nothing.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Larry.
I got a feeling that's going to be his career. A lot of nothing as the third string Roundtree III.
Yeah, nothing like being drafted by the Chargers to this. What a sad trajectory so far.
It's funny. They could probably use him back with how they've cleared house.
Yeah,
behind Gus Bus.
What I like about the thing that we did in this lineup where we scored 83 points was it was almost we took a lot of for sure things in our lineup. We took a lot of things that were like, okay, these guys have NFL pedigrees. These guys have kind of a NFL profile. You could see them doing well. They had the NFL, prototype bodies, if you will. They weren't going to be scared of the moment because there's a lot of experience on a roster like this. We probably should have got a little bit different with just like maybe having one low-owned guy, but I guess we had that with because I thought Aitman would be a lot more would be lower owned. Like I said, I easily think you could have won 9 receptions from him, and maybe that changes because like 5 points literally would have made a huge difference when you're up this high. Was there anything you thought we did wrong in this lineup?
We paid too much for a running back, I think.
Yeah, but that might have just been a process problem. Like, we know we usually like the cheaper running backs anyway, and there weren't really many running backs that hit other than...
and that's the thing. Really. We knew that last year coming in that there wasn't many running backs that were hitting anyway.
So the one we bet on was the one with volume. We just had to pay up for it.
Yeah.
And he still got 85 yards.
85 yards. He didn't get the receiving I was expecting.
And he didn't score.
He didn't score. Like,
is it going to be safe to say that Birmingham's running game is going to be good all season long, and that's going to make Person and Marable chalky?
Yes. Marable might be the number 1 running back all year. I'll say that. Until he's like 9K.
My thing is with Birmingham is they're so talented, I don't exactly know what to expect from them production-wise.
Yeah.
They could have 4 or 5 passing touchdowns against the next game. Who are they playing next?
Exactly.
I did say this, though. Michigan had a weird turnover in this game where they were throwing a little hitch kind of route towards the ground. It got tipped off of someone's knee and then intercepted at the 1-yard line. When they were already on like the 3, that could easily been a Hills touchdown or some kind of so that was kind of a weird turn of events. There was a lot of weirdness in that game. So I want to see one more week. But I thought 85 yards is pretty productive. And of course, if we get that touchdown or even, like you say, a little bit more reception work, I don't think we hate that play at all.
Yeah, and like I just want to get back to the Birmingham point. I would almost say that they would be like our Niners in this league, where it could be Kittle, it could be Ayuk, it could be Debo, but you just have no idea.
I mean, that's a chance I'm willing to take, at least for the prices that they have and how good that offense is. And but I'm sure that a lot of these guys are going to be chalky, though.
Yeah,
maybe.
And they're playing Michigan next week, which doesn't appear to be a very good defense. So that's probably going to lead to some chalkiness, right?
Michigan held a good St. Louis team to 16.
Yeah, I was going to say Michigan can get off the edge really good.
And what really got Birmingham's offense moving was a running quarterback who got himself hurt. And it just felt like it added something to their offense. Corral comes in and he starts playing and he builds his confidence up, but I don't know if I exactly trust him yet.
I'm not going to lie to you. I think Wade Phillips and the Brahmas have the best offense in the league.
I don't know about best offense, but they have a damn good defense to support their team.
I'd be shocked if St. Louis doesn't end up having the best offense in the league.
I think another guy that's going to go under the radar this week is Cody Lattimore. He did do a lot, but didn't really blow you away with any statistics. So I think he'll be high enough where people won't want to click him, but if he won't be low enough where he's considered a great value.
If you want to switch over to my lineup, and we'll just show everyone's lineups personal if they want to pull them up. That was something I played, and man, he disappointed me. But this ownership will definitely go down. I am not getting off this play. I will play him till he does something, I think.
Well, he was involved in the offense. He didn't get the numbers.
They were winning by so much too. So,
yeah.
How many targets did Latimer have?
I have no idea if I can even check that right now.
Let me see if I can.
Only the one.
Okay.
But like I say, looking at it from an eyeball perspective, he was more involved in that game than the numbers would suggest. It's kind of like Sage Surratt. If you watch that game, you knew his target were coming
I
in the
just
red
looked at
zone.
my contest.
Yeah,
and realized-
Surratt had 7, by the way, and 2 were red zone. So Surratt's like a continue to hammer that.
Cameron Harris, that was the guy who ended up being chalkier than Marable. 7,500 running back once they saw he was starting for DC.
That's right.
This is the only like random dart throw I made. I didn't know who this was. I didn't even know his first name. I just needed to fill out the roster, so I put him in.
I think he played with the Dragons last year. And
Yeah.
he played with the Browns and as a slot receiver.
Yeah, I just had no idea who this was, and I just played him in hopes until he did something. And if you see 15 rush yards on top of his receiving work. So I don't know what his role is. I didn't see any of that game that I really remember. No, I know I didn't see any of that game, actually. So, yeah.
A lot of A.J. McCarron getting the ball out quick and having a lot of timing routes from what I saw, and just his wide receivers just and him not being on the same page. But if they ever do get on the same page, he was the quickest release point of any quarterback this week, I felt like.
And that's still a good game by McCarron. I mean, and that goes to show you how good the defenses actually are in this league. Holding a guy who's been on an NFL roster consistently to 65%.
Honestly, I just felt like sometimes the wide receivers and him were off. But if they can get on the same page, I think the timing.
Yep.
I have faith in that. It's the first game of the season. They'll get it together.
Yeah, because he was throwing some really complicated timing routes, and they were like on time, but they were just not on the same time zone, if that made sense. So,
Who, as a player, most disappointed you guys? Because I know my answer.
AJ McCarron.
AJ McCarron disappointed you in how he played?
I don't really have a disappointment from everyone.
I think Te'amu was disgustingly bad.
Yeah, okay, like he was not good. But there were so many, like, I was really surprised at how well Matt Corral ran that offense. And knowing that it was supposed to be a 2-quarterback system, but just let Corral run the RPO. Wow, okay. That wasn't expecting that.
Former Patriot and Panther.
Yeah.
And now he's on my local Birmingham Stallions, which I might try and catch a game for them this year.
And I know AJ is talented, and like maybe it's not his fault, but the league definitely propped him up to be like the showcase player, and he wasn't ready for the showcase. Whether that's him and his wide receivers not being on the same page, whether that being, he knew the offense better than the wide receivers, or vice versa. They didn't know how to call a game together. I don't know, but he was positioned to be like the lead guy, the showcase guy.
That's a solid game, though. I mean, no mistakes. That's what you have to look at.
But he wasn't paid to be the solid guy on a roster. He was paid to be the superstar, and he didn't live up to that.
He led him for a game-winning drive, what should have been a game-winning drive, and they lost on a 64-yard field goal. 16 points, kind of sad, but the scoring in this league just isn't as high as the UFL.
To lead a team on a game-winning field goal, Donnie, they have to, win the game.
I said what should have been a game-winning drive, and then they lose on a 64-yard field goal, which is that the record or is it 66 now? I think it's 66 now.
Yeah.
66 is the longest field goal ever made in the NFL.
In the NFL, yeah.
If Te'amu continues to play badly, I'm assuming he's still playing through injury, but if he still cannot get it done, does DC go back to Francois?
No.
I think they should, but they probably won't. No.
I don't remember Francois being any good. I can't imagine that Te'amu's worse unless he legitimately is hurt. Healthy Te'amu has to be better than Francois.
That's a weird one too. Is people have been making Te'amu out to be like he's earned something, like he's earned this reputation to like keep being bad. He's not been good. Yeah,
no, he was putrid. He was putrid.
but he's been like Patrick Mahomes like practice squad quarterback, and I feel like he's lived off of that legacy for quite a while.
He did well in the spring league last year, if I'm not mistaken.
He did okay, but what I'm saying is his name has always been more impactful than his stats.
And to answer your question earlier, Logan, I would agree with Gov here, where I don't think any player disappointed me per se, because it's week 1 and everybody's still trying to get their shit together for actual games. It's too early to call.
Did they have a real training camp? Like, did they have a couple months to prepare, or was it just, hey?
Technically, all the teams have been in play and working through February and March, but like they really didn't start their training camp till after the NFL season.
From what I know,
they didn't have much time.
From what I know,
but it also has been a lot of these teams have a lot of continuity still.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, in the future, if they get enough money behind it and everything, I would hope that they could have like a 2 preseason game situation, because I think that could help the play in like saying, okay, these first 2 games will count.
What's the one thing that we can leverage from this week, either good, bad, or indifferent, and we can use it for next week? Because we always talk about like pillars or ideas for next week's lineups. Is there anything like that happened this week where you're like, I believe this, I want to go with this, I want to go with this philosophy? Is like, did you see something that you just think everyone's going to fall in love with that's a mistake?
Well, the one thing I liked about this week so much is I missed the games of the teams that I knew, and I was forced to watch the games of the teams I don't know. So I just kind of expanded my knowledge even more.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that the Showboats are the most well, actually, they're not the most expensive DST, which surprises me. It's the Stallions that have the most expensive DST.
Birmingham, yeah.
But in any case, like, now that I've seen what San Antonio can do on defense, I'll happily play the Brahmas.
Yeah. Knowing that, I think the Brahmas, they're not the most expensive defense, will probably end up being one of the better ones.
I'll tell you what, I want a Greg Williams attacking, blitzing defense against which I think might be one of the worst offenses in the league of the Houston Roughnecks.
See, I want to know did Memphis come out and play great defense, or did Houston just look so rusty that their defense was great?
I think
that'll be helpful to find out if that was a trend.
It's a combination of both, but I just don't like that Houston offense. I just didn't think they had anything, and
none of us played any Houston guys either going into this, did we?
No,
they were not really on my radar. No,
I don't really like their coaching philosophy. He kind of just seems like we're going to run the ball, we'll be conservative, we'll play it safe, and we'll wait for the other team to make a mistake, and we'll win off of that. And then what I didn't like was he went to a backup quarterback before it seemed like halftime of that game. So you gave up on your starter before halftime, and you didn't mention going with a 2-quarterback system or that 2 quarterbacks that earned it. So it seemed like you were bailing on your first quarterback, and then you went back to him in the third quarter because it wasn't working. So it's just a lot of dysfunction. So I want to target Houston and Greg, because I know Greg Williams and that DC team is at least going to bring some pressure, which might lead to that. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. All right.
Anything else you guys want to mention?
I don't want to get into next week too much, so.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to get my thoughts across.
Yeah,
sorry I was late.
No, I think
we burned the time with just talking in general without breaking down lineups.
We did. I will say we did see 3 new subscribers this week. I think a lot of that had to do with people looking for new content. Hopefully that means you're looking also for new content creators like us, and we're able to capitalize on your or the marketing ability, I guess, to cover this niche sport. We obviously enjoy it. We're trying to cover this like a real sport, but let's be honest, some people don't. So we are in a unique position where we can pick up on where a lot of people are lacking. We are going to do this as long as there's a DFS contest out there that has any viability, because I do think even though you see the contest on big, whenever the contests on big, there's also a chance for a opportunity where most people are not taking advantage and not doing the research. They're not willing to do the deep dives. So keep the questions coming. Liking and subscribing means a lot for us. If you think like, wow, I just came across this and there's not a lot of content, writing a message to those small content creators makes all the difference as well, because it gives us more exposure on the back end to be able to keep bringing you free content on our end as well. So I appreciate it. Evan, you want to say something?
I have one more closing thought before we move on to whatever else. I still have faith in Amari Rogers when it comes to fantasy points, because I really liked what I saw with the way that Birmingham is using him. They want to run the ball with him. They want to throw the ball to him, and they use him in clutch situations like a 2-point conversion. So I expected him on the Packers to be like what Jaden Reed is right now, but he just didn't pan out. So they just ended up, I think they traded him to Houston before he got cut. But I'm still going to keep an eye on Amari Rogers despite his $7,300 salary.
I'm way more frustrated in him than you are, but I actually expected a lot out of his NFL career. It didn't come. To your point though, and to your credit, I will say they did use him as the primary kick returner, so he is involved in the game in more ways than one. If he does return a kick, we do get an automatic 6 points for that as well. So there is some upside to playing him opposed to some other players. So there's obviously some upside there.
It's just one of those players on our naughty list because we've been trusting so much in him for so long.
And it was Deion Kane who scored the touchdown too. So
it was. Cutie also had a touchdown get called back. I think he could be a very viable player next week. We'll save some of that for next week. Again, we'll try to come at you, I would guess, again on Friday.
Yep, with the games over the weekend, Friday night is going to be the best time.
Yep.
We'll have the most up-to-date information. There's always a late-breaking news. Maybe a guy gets signed that you don't think. There might be
always wait until they've said they will put out their inactives 45 minutes before the games start on Saturday. So just make sure in case something's late scratch happens there. That can always adjust to who's going to be cheap and who's going to be playing certain positions.
You should always do that in any sport, but I mean, especially in football where you have so much options. There's so much time before the games. So go ahead and build your, shell lineup, but don't stay committed to it until that Friday night, Excuse me. Just recovering still from the illness myself, but I'm almost there. Speaking of which, I'm going to let these guys get some rest. We all got work in the morning. We'll be back with you guys ready to work on Friday night. We'll build these lineups. We'll bring out some good process. Hopefully you guys can have some more questions and comments. I saw them this week. Was able to write some of you back. Again, thank you for the support. Keep it coming. We'll keep the content coming as well. Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out, everybody.